It's 3 a.m. You're in a helium headspace. It's Thursday, October 9th, 2025. The film 1492, Conquest of Paradise, premiered on this day in 1992, directed by Sir Ridley Scott. It starred Gerard Depardieu, Armand Assante, Sigourney Weaver, and Fernando Rey, who, as Christopher Columbus's son, Fernando, says, "Of all the words my father wrote, and there were many, I remember these the most. Nothing that results from human progress is achieved with unanimous consent, and those who are enlightened before the others are condemned to pursue that light in spite of others." It made $3 million its opening weekend and has since accumulated $7.2 million. It would have been the 85th birthday of John Lennon today, who once said, "A part of me would like to be accepted by all facets of society and not be this loud-mouthed lunatic poet-musician, but I cannot be what I am not. I was the one who all the other boys' parents, including Paul's father, would say keep away from him. The parents instinctively recognized I was a troublemaker, meaning I did not conform and I would influence their children, which I did. I did my best to disrupt every friend's home, partly out of envy that I didn't have this so-called home, but I did. There were 5 women that were my family, 5 strong, intelligent, beautiful women, 5 sisters. One happened to be my mother. She was the youngest, and she had a husband who ran away to sea, and the war was on, and she couldn't cope with me, and I ended up living with her elder sister. Now those women were fantastic. That was my feminist education. I would infiltrate the other boys' minds. I could say, parents are not gods because I don't live with mine, and therefore I know." Born today in 1964 in Guadalajara, Mexico, Guillermo del Toro built a career on finding beauty inside the monstrous and tenderness within terror. His work, including Kronos, Pan's Labyrinth, The Shape of Water, and his latest this year, Frankenstein, bridges the border between fantasy and reality. Trained first in special effects and creature design, Del Toro never hid the machinery behind his imagination. He treated monsters not as villains, but as reflections of our fears and our better selves. His films remind viewers that horror can be humane, that fairy tales are not escapes, but mirrors, and that compassion can thrive in even the strangest worlds. Guillermo del Toro, who once said, "The worst part of having a wild imagination is that it sometimes works against you." It's the birthday of the man who said, "You can't make art by committee." The film director Steve McQueen was born today in 1969 in London, an artist who turns discomfort into self-examination. Before earning the Academy Award for Best Picture for directing 12 Years a Slave, McQueen was already known for his unflinching visual language. Hunger trapped viewers inside the bodily horror of the Irish hunger strikes, while Shame exposed the quiet devastation of addiction and loneliness in modern life. His art insists that beauty and brutality occupy the same space, that empathy demands endurance, and that cinema can still awaken something moral in the viewer. Where others look away, McQueen looks closer. Born today in 1907, Jacques Tati built comedies you watch with your eyes as much as your ears. Monsieur Hulot's Holiday introduces his pipe-tilting wanderer. Mon Oncle skewers gadget worship and won the foreign language Oscar. Playtime turns a whole city, his custom-built Tativille, into the joke, a technical marvel that helped sink his finances but secured his legend. He made crowd choreography feel human, mocked modernism without hating it, and trusted viewers to find their own laugh in the frame. Jacques Tati, who once said about his film Playtime, "Everyone sticks to their paths. Then, bit by bit, warmth and friendship take over." Born today in 1892 in the small Bosnian town of Dolac near Travnik, Ivo Andrić grew up amid the deep divides of the Balkans, a crossroads where cultures met and often collided. His most celebrated novel, The Bridge on the Drina, traces 4 centuries of life around a single Ottoman bridge in Visegrad, using it as a silent witness to the pain and persistence of a region torn between East and West. Andrić wrote with the calm of a historian and the conscience of a poet, chronicling how empires pass but human endurance remains. In 1961, he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature, recognized for illuminating the human destiny depicted against the history of his country. His work remains a mirror of the Yugoslav soul, scarred, stoic, and searching for meaning in a world forever in transition. Ivo Andrić once said, "The most tragic form of loss isn't the loss of security, It's the loss of the capacity to imagine that things could be different. Born today in 1899 in Petoskey, Michigan, Bruce Catton became one of the most lucid and human voices to ever write about the American Civil War. Before turning to history full-time, he worked as a journalist, and that grounding and clear, muscular prose shaped his approach to storytelling. Catton wrote as if the past were not distant, but still breathing among us, its battles, its failures, and its flashes of courage still instructive for modern readers. His Pulitzer Prize-winning A Stillness at Appomattox did more than chronicle the Union Army's final campaigns. It distilled the weariness and redemption of a divided nation learning how to heal. Catton's work stood out because it was not merely about strategy or dates, it was about people enduring something almost too vast to comprehend, and trying, in the aftermath, to live decent lives again. Bruce Catton said, "The past is not dead. It is living in us and will be alive in the future, which we are now helping to make. What America needs most are Americans." Today in 1201, in the little hamlet of Sarbon, in what is now the Ardennes, a child was born whose hunger for learning and justice would cast a centuries-long shadow in Paris. That child was Robert de Sorbonne. He came from modest means, but his faith and intellect carried him to Reims and then Paris, where he impressed churchmen and royalty alike. By about 1253, he was already teaching theology in Paris. In 1257, he bought property with the support of King Louis IX and established the Maison des Sarbon, initially intended to educate poor theology students. In 1258, he became chaplain and confessor to Louis IX, and he later served as chancellor of the University of Paris. His statutes for the college emphasized shared life, moral discipline, and scholarly rigor. He died in Paris on August 15, 1274, having left his entire estate to the Sarbonne, ensuring that his vision would live on. His legacy is more than bricks and endowments, however. Robert de Sarbon sought to lower the barriers that poverty put before potential scholars. He believed knowledge should be accessible, not hoarded, and his name became synonymous with the Paris Theology School, and eventually the Sorbonne itself became shorthand for the University of Paris's heart. Robert de Sarbon, who said the poor student is more deserving of a teacher than the wealthy one, for his need is greater. Today in 1780, under a flag of truce during wartime, Harvard's Samuel Williams led the first government-backed American science expedition out of Boston. The mission mattered. Observing solar eclipse timing could tighten New England's longitude and prove the young republic could do serious science. Williams secured Massachusetts funding and British passage, hauled clocks, quadrants, and telescopes to Long Island and the Bay, and missed totality by a few dozen miles. An error blamed on maps, constraints, and hurry. Even so, the crew logged skies dimming to night, temperature drops, stars emerging, and enough data to refine Cambridge's longitude and publish the first American eclipse report in the Academy's inaugural volume. It was a near miss that was also an early example of American determination in face of errors. Samuel Williams said, "Though involved in all the calamities and distresses of a severe war, the government promoted the cause of science." And those are some of the things we humans have done over the years. Do the useful thing, say the courageous thing, contemplate the beautiful thing. That is enough. Please follow, like, and subscribe.